Hi everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. This is the first video with a face cam thing, and first of many, probably, yeah. Today is the everything we know about OK Orchestra, or what we know about OK Orchestra. Don't actually have the title figured out yet. I'm gonna figure that out later, but pretty much today we're just going through every tweet, interview, pre-show thing they've said since pretty much 2019. So pretty much anything they've said about OK Orchestra I feel like is monumental and important and not repeated enough. So yeah, I'm just gonna be reviewing all that. So yeah, I've worked pretty hard on this video. This is like, well, I worked and will be working pretty hard on this video. This is like my hardest thing I've done with this YouTube channel. Other than starting it, which learning about all that is pretty hard, but this is one of the most creative, artistic things in a way, and one of the things I'm most excited about. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I will, like when I'm talking about tweets and stuff, I'll have these little graphics I made with Photoshop, which will pretty much just be the tweet like in the center of the screen. So I hope those turned out fine. For some of the interviews and stuff, I'll put like videos real quick. But like for the One Spectacular Night, I obviously won't do that. And for some of them, I'll just real quick recap them instead of actually showing video after video. So I hope you all enjoy. Yeah, let's get right into the video. Hi, so I'm editing the video, and you may have seen the comments are disabled. I contemplate with this, but I've been pretty active on the Discord, and a lot of people have spoiled the album and have heard it. So there are some people out there who go down below and be like, Socks is blank, or Ryan sings in blank, or OK over or 3 o'clock things about whatever. So I did disable it. That was a decision I made. Okay, I'm in a different spot. I was there a minute ago, but now I'm here. The reason I'm here is because on my computer I have a Word doc with pretty much sort of a script, but it's like a rough draft almost of a script, with like different links to the tweets, which I probably won't use the links because I sort of have them all memorized a little bit, not really memorized, but just remember them. So yeah, so let's just dive straight into everything. Okay, so first off, the trailer for the album, I believe it'll be called, they said, it's been a year in making, and after 12 emotionally cathartic months, it's turned into possibly our favorite album we've ever made. OK Orchestra will be yours on March 26th. So this doesn't reveal a lot that we don't know. I mean, it's ours on March 26th, and it's possibly their favorite album, which I think they're saying that just because, like, they said that about New Theater, I think, and I'm pretty sure they said that about The Click. And I think for the first week, all of us will be saying, oh, this is our favorite album, this is way better. 12 emotionally cathartic months, I think this will, like, the year we've had, which, I mean, everyone's used to it. 2020 was a terrible year. For AJR, I talked about this in my last video of AJR in 2020. It was actually a pretty good year for them, all things considered, but I think I'll reveal, like, the year has been bad, and that will influence the album a lot, so yeah. And I'm not, for any of the teasers or things that have, well, this hasn't been released, but still, like, this teaser, I'm not playing the audio, just because I might have to take it down for it being an unreleased song, or when the album does come down, I'd have to take it down because it is a released song, so I don't want to dive into any copyrights at all, so I will link down below different tweets. So for this one, I will link down below a tweet to go to that, to listen to that, because you should listen to it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about the track list real quick. Yeah, most of you probably already know this, but for anyone who doesn't know, I'll just talk about the track list real quick. Pretty much they sent to all the AJR fans different puzzle pieces, and then a lot of people on Twitter and Discord and everything would all, like, help each other put them together and everything and find it out. So yeah, that's the track list. Okay, so this is where we dive into some stuff that was an interview. They have an interview with Kevin Kinney, which I couldn't find an actual interview anywhere. I just find clips of it from Kevin Kinney's Twitter, so.
You got this album coming out called OK Orchestra. I mean, is it like the dumbest question in the world to ask if this is a nod to Radiohead?
Yeah, you know what? We've gotten asked that a lot, and we were expecting that question. The day that we came up with the album title, I don't think that we thought of OK Computer. Very surprisingly, I know that that's hard to believe, but that's the truth. We thought it was just a really great name for what we were trying to go for. And if we can be anything close to as influential and fantastic an album as OK Computer, we would be extremely lucky. So I guess so. Yeah.
Why does it so perfectly capture what you guys are doing on the project?
It's a lot of the album is about growing a little bit older and worrying about becoming irrelevant and obsolete, and kind of joining this sad orchestra, and just kind of being like repetitive and loud and grouchy, and being worried about joining that sad orchestra. And so it's about kind of being in the middle of this okay orchestra. We're okay for now.
I hope it has the same amount of influence as OK Computer. That's just a interesting thing. The album's about growing older and almost a fear of becoming irrelevant and obsolete and joining this sad orchestra and being repetitive, loud, and grouchy. So that's fun because Neo Theater and Click were both about Neo Theater and Click were both about not growing up, or about being a kid and stuff like that. So this one would be about growing up, which we should have saw. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
I think it's definitely the most extreme sounding music we've ever made. Meaning like it's the fastest, happiest song, on the album. It's Bang is definitely the most like evil, dark sounding song we've ever made. There's some of the saddest, most tear jerking songs. I think we're really expanding what AJR is comfortable doing, and that's a really fun feeling for us.
Another interview from Dublin SFM 104. It's about OKO. Basically, it's going to be like a sad, happy feeling, which they also tweeted about this, so maybe I'll get into that in a minute. But, sort of expanding what AJR is comfortable doing, so that's really interesting. Okay, here's a tweak from, I think, beginning of February. They said they're finishing up production on OKO this week, going back, tweaking snares, and rewriting lines to fully express the feeling. Wow, we've really given this album a lot. Another tweet, mastering the album today. Every kick, every vocal choice, every tambourine volume automation will now be baked into the DNA of OK Orchestra forever. Such a weird moment when an album goes from our living, moving thing to a solid rock and then to your living, moving thing. Okay, the end of that, living, moving thing, DNA rock, I don't know what that means. It seems like a really confusing way to just say that, giving like us their music. I don't think it really reveals anything, but something does reveal. Every tambourine volume automation. There's not a comma in between every tambourine, comma, volume automation. It's just every tambourine volume automation. That's really interesting. Yeah, so I guess there will be tambourines. If you listen to like Bummerland, there was a tambourine in that, so that's exciting. Next tweet. Oh, I think we figured out the direction and concept of the next album. This is our favorite moment when all these separate stories start to make sense one after another. And another tweet. There's always one song on each album that sets the stage for writing the next album. On Living Room, it was the specificity of Pitchfork Kids. On The Click, the honesty of Come Hang Out, and on Neo Theater, the funny/sad of Karma is really inspiring the next album we're working on. That makes a lot of sense. Bummerland is like a sad song. It's about like being at your all-time low, which is a terrible thing, but it's like also like a fun song to sing. Like Bummerland. I'm not gonna sing it, but also Way Less Sad is like, I'm still sad, but it's like looking at the positive. So I think a lot of this album will be like juxtaposition, which AJR has talked about a lot, and that's really cool. Like happy instruments and everything. It's a really happy beat, but it's like really depressing lines and stuff, similar to like Way Less Sad and Bummerland. So yeah, whereas like My Place is just like a sad song. It's like, this is sad. This is divorce. It's sad. And where Bang doesn't fit either of those because that's part of Neo Theater. But yeah, so funny sad part of Karma. Karma is a great song. So if an entire album is inspired by that, that's absolutely wonderful. So this is from One Spectacular Night. That was like 3 months ago. So I took notes 3 months ago when I watched it. So I think this is still like relatable. I mean, it's still relatable. But what I'm trying to say is I'm pretty sure it's still reliable and it still works, but some of the words are just really weird, like dichotomy, which I don't know if that's a real word or not. But anyway, so Ryan is pretty much talking about this at the pre-show, that you need two halves of your brain to write an album. An introspective and an extrospective, outward-looking, which I actually remember him having like a hard time saying this word, side, where like the extrospective, outward-looking side, you see movies or your friends, and that's like Come Hang Out, more social songs where you're observing other people. But it's also the inward-facing, looking inward songs about embarrassing things you said in like 7th grade. A lot of the album is very introspective, the latter. So yeah, the album is very inspired by like looking inward. They talk about this a ton, about like looking inward, an inward-facing album. which will be very interesting. Which I think like Karma's maybe a little bit like that, yeah. And that's obviously, yeah, because quarantine, like I said. Another thing about a lot of the songs are influenced by is the location. So they started writing this album in like March, April, May of like quarantine. They started that in Union Square, in their apartment in Union Square, Manhattan, where they wrote My Play, and then they went to Long Island with their family in the summer, with the Summer House, that was the Bummerland music video. And that's where they wrote a bunch of other songs in the summer. Then they went back to a new apartment in Manhattan, and they wrote other songs. So Jack is interested to see if we can find like the difference between every song, which I'm interested to. The album art on one side there's this beautiful world. This is also pre-show. There's like this beautiful world with instruments coiling around trees and whatever. And on the other side, it's very grid-like standard adult world. And the dichotomy of the two and what comes next and which do I look at is the theme of the album. So it talks about more serious things, but it's pretty much, I think we're going to have like this negative side of the album, this positive side of the album, whether that's in track list or whatever. So that's really cool. We're still in the One Spectacular Night pre-show. They said that like the problems of the older albums, like Come Hang Out, seem so like minuscule or like childish almost. Like really our biggest problem was that we couldn't hang out with our friends. So this is a lot more mature topics, which I'm very interested to talk about or to listen to. Okay, so this is from One Spectacular Night, but now this is a post-show, actually. So one of the main themes of the album has to do with stepping out or staying in your comfort zone, being scared to reveal your true self. A huge dilemma in the album is about, do I be true to myself or do I not? It's a scary thing to put yourself out there. So this is, if you remember, like, the Burn My House Down, little, like, not chant, but like the little speech he gave when he was going up the ladder. He sort of talked about like stepping out of your comfort zone, so the album's really inspired about that, and that's great. Another thing from the post show, we talked about the name of the album. So they had a temporary name. They thought that most of the album would have sounded like Bang, but it started to sound more melancholy, inward facing, and introspective, so they called it OK Orchestra. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit later, so I apologize if it starts to get a bit darker and harder to see, but nothing I can do about it. Okay, broad stuff. Yeah, let's talk about this. I'll maybe put up a clip right now.
It's very, I guess there's a few answers. Generally, when we go into producing a song, it's, let's try to do something unique. Let's include some sort of sound that people can, one, really identify with the song, two, that they haven't heard before, in other music. And that's a really hard thing to do because, there's so many artists out there and so many great producers that are doing new stuff. So I guess to answer your question, it is kind of spur of the moment of, and I guess the phrase that goes through mine and Ryan's head is why not? Why not put this in? And we'll go on YouTube and search up random videos of like little kids screaming, and then we'll sample that and reverse it and put it in. Because it's almost kind of like, why would you not put that in the song? Like no one's ever heard that before,
Basically, they talk about this a lot. Their music is, and I don't think we're trying to like brag by any means, but pretty much they want their music to be unique. In the making of Bang video, they talked about a lot of artists do like 80% something they know, 20% something they don't know. They talked about how for Bang they did 80% something they don't know, 20% something they know, and how they loved that and it worked so well. So yeah, I think we'll be doing that for pretty much this whole album, so that's great. Please tell me, because now I have to know after hearing it, did you intentionally finish Finale from Neo Theater with the word okay as sort of a transition into OK Orchestra? I guess I did. That's interesting. And this is another one of the assumption tweets, which I haven't done yet. So anyway, AJR did this one thing one day where he pretty much like, people would post their assumptions and they would retweet it if the assumption was right. No, none of mine got retweeted. I was very disappointed about that. Pretty much one of the assumptions is the most vulnerable album you've ever put out. That's great, I think. Is that? Yeah. The album has controversial but important topics that should be spoken about. They retweeted it, so I guess that means yes. Another assumption, flute beat drops. Whoa, how'd you know? That's really interesting, a flute beat drop. Assumption, this is the album you guys are most proud of. Again, talked about this earlier, I feel like every album they do, it gets like progressively better, so obviously it's the one they're most proud of, but I mean, it's still the one they're most proud of, so. I think for some of these OK Orchestra songs, the reaction might be what, and then might be oh wow. A lot of very strange emotional ups and downs make for a very strange group of songs. I don't actually know what that means. I'm assuming it just means there's a lot of emotional ups and downs of these songs. Every AJR Brothers song makes me feel like the main character, and I think that's beautiful. Whenever I listen to AJR Brothers, I'm like, dang, how the heck did they write lyrics to how I'm feeling? Like, every song has a line that matches exactly what I'm thinking. They quoted this and said, I think at a certain point we stopped trying to be relatable and just started being honest about our own flaws.
Sing on the album.
I do sing on the album. A little different than past albums. But yes, I do.
Why are we sitting here? There's so
Oh, you're
many
not
other-
comfortable?
Ryan will be singing on the album, sorta. He said, like, it's different. So what I could see this being is that he sings one song, but then, like, in another song, like, let's say, The Trick. I saw this theory, I believe on Reddit or somewhere, but pretty much Ryan's voice could, it was a theory, not, like, fact, like, not, like, the person heard it, but pretty much Ryan's voice could morph into Jack's voice, which morphs into Ryan's voice again or something. So maybe that's what they mean, and maybe he also will just, like, sing normally, you know, aside from that, sing normally. How did some of y'all not realize AJR was political or critiquing society? How is this new information? Every song we drop is always going to sound different from any other. It's the hardest part of our job, but it's also the most rewarding. I love making polarizing music. All the reviews I see are love or hate, no ands. There's been a point in every new song we've written so far where we're like, is this too strange or is this just right? Yeah, this very reminiscent of like the speech about, not Lower Red Riding Hood, but like Goldilocks, I think it was, with like the soups and the bears' beds and everything that they did before Neo Theater, where it's like, is this too far or is it just right, or, yeah. So I'm gonna bring this up. There's been like this thing across the past year where basically AJR has said something a lot, or just something, just no G at the end. They posted like a picture with the caption just something.
Maybe it turning out part 3?
Yeah, I think, right? There, we haven't written it. I wrote a draft. It wasn't quite right yet. It was a party banger, you know? It was not a party banger. Whatever it is, I don't know if it would be the end of a trilogy. I don't know. And number 3 feels important. So I think it would need to be even more emotionally cathartic than the first 2.
But
So my goal is, yes, I think it would be really good if I have the right thing to say. It would be really good.
It's like waiting for the
How do
right
you-
time, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to do it and just force it.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, that was an interview from Zach Sang. Obviously, if you know who Zach Sang is, you could see that. And it's about turning out part 3. So, basically, they sort of said, yes, there is a turning out part 3. Like, there's a draft they wrote for it. But, I think what Ryan's trying to say, part 3, or number 3, is very important to them. And we'll get into this later. It's very, very important. 3:30, 3 a.m., there's been, like, a trilogy so far of Click, Neo Theater, OK Orchestra is now going to be like a trilogy. 3 Brothers, so many 3 O'Clock Things, so many different number 3s. So I think for turning out part 3, if they did one, it'd have to feel like really good, really important. Not like they're just making another turning out because they feel like it, you know? So yeah.
It's not more money because we're spending less money on this album than the last album.
Another Zach Sang interview, they spent less money on this album than, I don't think they said any other album, I don't remember, but pretty much less than Neo Theater, which makes sense. For Neo Theater, they had to pay a lot of money to go in and do like the old-timey 30s, 40s orchestra stuff, so they spent less money. I don't think that means it's lower quality, though. I think it'll still be a wonderful album. It doesn't mean it's worse, just less money.
Like, Disney Choir is definitely finding its place on this new album.
Yeah, in a different way.
Yeah.
This is something I just wanted to include about the Disney Choir from Zach Sang. I mean, yeah, just wanted to.
Tried not to repeat ourselves, so we got outside of our comfort zone a little more. And then with this, it's even harder. But in a way, it's cooler. We're mining our life even harder to get outside of our comfort zone and talk about things we've never talked about.
Yeah, so we've talked about stuff we've never talked about, which I think is a good thing. Okay, so we're going to talk about COVID real quick. Not actually COVID, but we're just going to talk about how the album has been influenced by it. Not really COVID, but more so quarantine. So here's an AJR live stream.
How many songs were written over quarantine? The entire album.
How many extra songs did we have for the album that we didn't put on? I think there was only
3?
like... Oh, I was going to say 1 or 2. Were there 3? I know there's one that I have in my mind for sure.
So,
but we used... Oh, yeah. I think there was... No, I think that... Yeah, I think there was...
the
No, but that turned into Bummerland,
so
right? Yeah, there was
totally
there was a
isolated.
Bummerland version before that. So like totally like not like isolated on its own. I think there was 2 that didn't make it for the album.
So yeah, the album was written over quarantine, and 2 songs did not make the album. This is contradictory because later they say that 1 song didn't, or earlier actually they said 1 song didn't, but whatever. They also like talked about how the pandemic affected music and looked self-inward. I'll put a clip real quick.
Yeah, the only song that wasn't, I guess the only full song that wasn't really written was Bang. Bang was written like December 2019, and then the rest of the songs were fully written in the in lockdown. And it's because I don't think we had a plan to write an album until like November of last year, which is when we would have gotten off of tour. We had 2 tours planned, but since that got canceled, we were like, okay, there's nothing to do. Let's move that up to now. So we're doing something. So yeah, everything was written in quarantine.
So yeah, they've talked about looking inward. Another thing from Zach saying in review is how now songs are from at home and themselves, but they're used, and I talked about this earlier, they're used to like seeing a friend or moving and writing like social songs like Come Hang Out, but now it's like they're looking inward. It's a very inward album. Okay, let's talk about instrumorph, audiomorphism, okay, whatever you want to call it. Pretty much just the Bummerland technique in the bridge. So I'll clip this real quick.
There's more specifically, there's one of the aspects of the album that really stands out. It's a production. I have to be vague, but it's a production aspect, and it's something really difficult and weird that we tried to achieve in Neo Theater, and we couldn't do it. Like Ryan worked for hours, and it sounded terrible. And I guess a year and a half or 2 years passed, and he finally was able to do it. And once the album or group of songs come out, you'll know what I mean, and you'll be like, "Whoa, that sounds really cool." Yeah. But basically, it was just a lot of work getting good at his craft. This is kind of braggy, but I sent it to Jack the first time I made it, and Jack called me and he was like, "My jaw just dropped." Yeah, I just know it's a sound that I had never really heard before in music.
So yeah, they're talking about it a lot. In the One Spectacular Night pre-show, they talked about like they've been working on instrument for a long time. They finally nailed it. And it's like this ideas of instruments talking and drums becoming melodies and pianos becoming vocals, and it sort of paints the picture of the OK Orchestra. So yeah, I can't find this anywhere, but they also said that the technique in the Bummerland Bridge, Instrumorph, would be the name of the album. Now, you could think that they ditched the idea and renamed the album, or, which we did talk about earlier, but I believe that was the name in like, July, that was the name for the album. But I believe that now it's still the album, and the technique is actually called OK, or OK is like an abbreviation for the technique. So I can't think of like what the technique would be called actually, but so OK Orchestra has 2 different meanings. It would be like part of it's like it's a sad, mediocre orchestra. It's depressing, and then another one would be it's an orchestra filled with OK, filled with this technique. Overture would be probably leaning a lot more to the sonic side, where it's like this is an overture with a lot of OK, rather than like a sad overture. But yeah, so I think it's sort of like the name has like a double meaning, and then OK is what the technique is called, so that I think that thing still stands. It is the album's name would be the technique. Okay, so they talk a lot about like this being a sequel to Neo Theater, but also being like a trilogy from The Click to Neo Theater to OK Orchestra, right there, sort of being like a trilogy. So I'll show a couple different I'll show a couple different clips real quick to show that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a totally new name. It's very much a new concept, but we still are kind of enamored with this idea of Neo Theater, this place where you go where you don't have to grow up and you don't have to learn life's lessons. So in a way, we kind of wanted to expand that in terms of like, what if you did grow up? What if you had to get to that point where you became disillusioned and started learning these hard lessons and forgot a little bit of your childhood? What does that look like? And so in that way, we expanded the universe.
For stuff that I've heard, it feels like The Click to Neo Theater to this new album. It feels like a trio of albums that are meant to be listened to in order. So like you say that you create a piece of work that's meant to be listened to start to finish. From the stuff that I've heard, I feel like it would make so much sense to listen to The Click all the way through, then Neo Theater all the way through, and then this next piece of work all the way through. And it really tells a complete story with these 3 albums.
It's definitely, we're never going to put out a random group of songs. And so we got really excited. We figured out kind of an expansion of the Neo Theater universe, and it's a little bit of a sequel to Neo Theater, but with like a totally different sonic feeling. So yeah, we got very excited. We had to tell everybody.
Yeah, so pretty much they talk about being a sequel to Neo Theater, and it's almost like a sequel, but like, did you grow up? Or like, what if you did grow up? So I think that's super, super interesting. And we should obviously saw us coming because like, these are both about growing up, Whereas now it's about what if you did grow up, after growing up stuff. Well, not after growing up, because that's death, sorta. They talked about One Spectacular Night basically being like a bridge between the two eras. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about the influence real quick. The album's influenced by a lot of different things. So, one of them, I'll quote a tweet real quick. It says, "Here's a cover of one of our favorite songs of all time. Fountain of Wayne taught us how you could take the most mundane stories and turn them into something emotional. We lost Adam Schlesinger to COVID-19 recently and wanted to celebrate how much influence he had on us." Okay, so I don't listen to Fountains of Wayne too much, but I do know a little bit about them, just basically through AJR. Fountains of Wayne took like this mundane, suburban life stories and turned them into something really interesting and emotional to listen to. They also talked about, in a Kevin Kinney interview, how Fountains of Wayne influenced them.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to start to think that all rock stars are the He-Man, good-looking guy that sings about getting the girl. And it's just so much more interesting to find a group like Fountains of Wayne where they're singing about simple suburbia life and getting your first car and working at your dad's video store and taking that world and blowing it up into something really important and interesting. And that was really important for us to learn. Oh, maybe these little things in our life could be interesting too.
Yeah, they're like brilliant, like film directors and writers. It's just like it's like the old like plays, like Tennessee Williams, like where he like just took like 2 characters or 3 characters in a room and like made the most profound play of all time. They really show, like what Ryan said, being able to write the greatest song ever about your parents going to Fire Island. It just shows that you can really write a song about anything and make it really great. And that's just so cool when someone can do that.
And they also mentioned in a pre-show how they were really inspired by Fountains of Wayne, but there are also other inspirations. In the pre-show, they mentioned that they were inspired by PC music and hyperpop, and they like how they can like take these switch-ups, these tempo changes, these vibe changes, and tie them into like a emotional way, but also make it like look artistic or sound artistic, I suppose. Were there any specific artists that inspired OKO? If so, what are they? I think hyperpop is probably the most progressive genre right now, so that's been inspiring. Also, probably more Broadway influence of this album, not just in orchestration, but in the actual phrasing and storytelling. Hyperpop, so if they're not making a hyperpop album, I'll show this live stream.
Oh, I just saw how hyper poppy is the album. I think I may have made a mistake. On Twitter, I was doing a Q&A, and they're like, "Oh, what genres were your influences?" And I said, hyper pop is like the most progressive genre, one of the most progressive genres right now, so definitely taking some influence from that. Then I saw so many, AJR's making a hyper pop album, and that's not what we're making, guys. I'm sorry to disappoint.
No, there's definitely, there's a little bit of influence on there. They do something really amazing, which is like subverting expectations.
So that's an AJR live stream, and pretty much they cleared up. They're not making hyperpop, but they love what they do with like subverting expectations, and like we said earlier, taking like these tempo changes and stuff and turning them into an emotional, artistic piece. So it's not a hyperpop album, which I think is sort of good. I don't necessarily like hyperpop. Post-show from One Spectacular Night, they said that PC music and hyperpop inspired the album. Obviously, they're also inspired by Hobo Johnson. In music, inspiration comes from old music, not just Neil Theor's orchestra, how that's like this 40s and 50s music, but also like the first people who talked about being awkward and how they were like way ahead of their time and how they had a lot to say about social insecurities in like the 30s and 40s, so they're really inspired about that. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, probably one of the most interesting parts, maybe just for me, but like it's about songs. We're not going to talk about like specific songs, but rather when they talk about just like songs. That doesn't really make sense, but we're talking about like individual songs and stuff. So okay, so about assumptions, half the songs will make us laugh and the other half will make us cry. The instrumental that was used in a reveal trailer will also be in the album. You pulled out old beats that you made a long time ago and forgot about to incorporate them into new songs and give them new life. A bunch of them, yes. Way less sad. I mean, way less sad was singing like from a Kygo, like a part of a song for Kygo and a part of a song for Cardi B. So definitely that one, and maybe a couple other ones. Oh, Socks, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, this is from an AJR live stream.
I just saw a question, where is Socks? Some of you guys know that Socks was a song that we wrote for Neo Theater that didn't make the cut. Jack didn't make the cut?
How do you want to answer that question? Okay, Socks did make the cut. It is on the album.
It's just called something
but
different
it's
now.
Called something, we have changed the name. And as soon as you hear the song that we're talking about, you're gonna it will take you 0 seconds to realize, okay, this used to be Socks.
Yeah.
It will
No, but we made it better.
What?
We improved it. We made it a lot better.
Yeah.
It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't good enough for Neo Theater.
Yeah, and we changed some lyrics and we reproduced it, and it was like, oh, we really pushed it into this year. So that's really cool. But you will know. Just give the album a full listen all the way through, and you'll be like, that's the one. Got it.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, Socks will be on the album. Socks was, I believe, it was revealed by their manager in like a Q&A thing on Reddit where they talked about Socks, and the manager hyped it up a lot. No, they didn't think that it was good enough for Neo Theater or Neo Theater Deluxe, I believe. But the manager thought it was wonderful, so I'm really glad that we're getting it. They also said that like in the first few minutes you'll be able to notice it. So in my opinion, that either means that they'll say Socks, so like in the first few seconds they'll talk about Socks or whatever, you know, or that it will have like the Neo Theater, like for instance, Don't Throw Out My Legos. Like if you heard Don't Throw Out My Legos on this one, you could probably tell that it was from Neo Theater because like the wait, okay, I'm not gonna say it, but you know, like the little 30s 40s orchestra. So either the Socks song will have 30s 40s orchestra, or say Socks, which I think the first one would be really cool, but I think that's less likely probably.
I'm happy with the ones that we've teased so far. Like we've teased kind of like some of the bangers, and then My Play, which was the really deeply emotional one.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of slices of it that people don't know that are coming. A lot of the weirder songs we haven't teased yet.
That's really cool. Because those have been like so unique, like the la da 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 da. Why do I do this? This is so embarrassing. Okay, this is from Dublin SFM, and this is about songs sounding different and unique.
What have we not done before? Because that really excites us. Oh, we've never done a song like Bang with the boom, 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 you know, like evil sounding horns. That's really exciting to us. And then we just kind of take it one song at a time. If the next song sounds totally different from Bang, so be it. Who cares?
Okay, this is from 104.5 Philly. This is interesting. It's an out there song like Birthday Party that people are not expecting. It's towards the front of the album, and it might not be one of his favorite songs.
Is there a birthday party on OKO, like an out there song you don't think people are expecting? There is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's towards the front of the album. And it's, oh God, I know I said the trick, but maybe this one is actually my favorite on the album.
Okay, some random stuff real quick.
I feel like she's gotten more famous than than us, Quinn, or Hobo Johnson.
It's like crazy, dude. She's so talented, though.
Yeah. No, but so there is no news on that. Honestly, it's like such a confusing time. Like we were saying, we had another interview. Someone asked, like, do we know? Like, tell us when concerts are going to resume. I was saying we know. We're going to know as soon as you guys know. Like, we're all going to see the headline at the same time. Artists aren't keeping any information from anyone. So yeah. I guess when that time does come up, it hasn't really come up yet of like a definitive date. We'll talk about that again. We loved that lineup too. We thought really carefully about it, and it was kind of our like dream lineup to at least to perform with. So we'll have to do something with them again for sure. Yeah. You know, whether it's in the next year or the year after, but expect something.
We can expect stuff with Quinn and Hobo and Ash in the future. That's amazing. Okay, so now we're getting into actual songs where we talk about the actual songs, like they name the songs. So we'll start off with OK Overture, obviously, because number one. Overture first, please. Well, that sort of makes sense. Even though I think it seems a lot better to listen to track 2 to 13 and then listen to Overture, because then you'll understand the musical themes. But, I mean, you gotta remember The Office, right? Assumption to be, OK Overture is the best overture you've made so far. It's definitely the one we've worked the hardest on.
Which song is most intense? I'm assuming that means like on OK Orchestra.
That's interesting.
God, Bang is really up there.
Bang is pretty intense. Joe is a little intense.
The Overture.
Parts. Overture is definitely intense.
OK Overture.
They were asked in a 104.5 Philly, pretty much like what the most intense song at the album was, and they said 3 different ones. So they said Bang, Joe, or OK Overture. Okay, Bummerland, gonna skip this one. I feel like there's been so much talked about it, and nothing I found was like interesting necessarily for it. And we've already talked about the Bummerland technique. Okay, the 3 o'clock things. When we get 3 o'clock things, that one will drop with the album, and with a very cool video we're directing right now.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So there's so many references across all AJR songs to something around 3, like 3 a.m., 3:30, 3 o'clock things. There's the lyric in the verse and then the bridge of Way Less Sad. Ryan and Jack, what is it about 3 o'clock?
I want to share it, but I feel like it'd be giving too much away. Our obsession with the number 3 and the time 3. What do you think, Ryan? Should we give it away?
No.
No, it's
Sorry,
not.
Adam.
It's a nice round number. That's the easy answer. We just have a sort of obsession with 3 o'clock. You're really mad that we didn't answer that.
Yeah, so I mean they didn't answer it about 3:30. Like I said earlier, there's 3 a.m., 3:30, 3 o'clock things, 3 brothers. That wasn't really their choice though. 3 albums now for trilogy. They released stuff at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, I mean they really won't say why. Maybe 3 o'clock things will reveal that. Okay, my plan. I'm going to talk about this real quick, but I'm also going to talk about Joe sort of at the same time. So there's been this quote by AJR, this tweet actually. What do you feel is overall color of the album and why? Really depends on the song. Songs like Bang and Blank 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 are red and orange, while songs like My Play and Blank are more silver blue. At the time we did not know about Would Be, but now we obviously know that's Joe for the second one, while songs like My Play and Joe are more silver blue. Okay, so now talking about Joe. Most intense song, they also said earlier, was Bang, Joe, and OK Overture. So Joe might be an intense song.
What is Joe about? First question that we're not going to answer.
Oh my god, everyone wants to know Joe. It is such a mystery track. How do we give just a taste without letting anything know?
I think anything you give is going to take away from the first
I don't
listen.
think, you know what? I don't think anyone's has guessed correctly what the song is about.
So yeah, everyone's guessed Joe wrong. The 2 biggest theories were, one, Joe was about a political song, Joe Biden, the election, something like that. And the second one was about like just being an average Joe, being ordinary people. So okay, again, I'm not gonna go into like in depth about what everyone has said is their favorite because they change it so much. But one time Adam said Joe was his favorite, so that's cool. Another time they've asked about who Joe was, and we'll know when the album comes out. You know, they're not gonna reveal it, so we'll know in 7 days. Be patient. Adventures Out There. So everyone thought this was, actually I'll talk about that later. First off, fastest song. So there was this from 104.5 Philly.
What's the fastest song on OKO?
World's Smallest Violin. Right?
Okay, I wasn't gonna give it away, but okay, yeah, World's Smallest Violin.
Or maybe Adventures Out There. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, maybe
Adventures Out There.
Out There is a little faster.
So that first track was like, World's Smallest Violin probably is the fastest song, but then Adventures Out There, and they hummed it. So I'll just play that again.
Yeah, you're right. Adventures Out There.
Okay, so like, I don't think you can really, like, if you want to memorize that hum, you can, but it doesn't really reveal too much. But pretty much, Adventures Out There is the fastest song.
Wait, someone had a question about Adventures Out There.
Yeah, I saw it. Does it sample a Pixar movie? It does not.
Oh, it does not. Yes, there's not really an association with the Pixar, or is there, Ryan?
There isn't.
Oh, nice.
Put that to bed.
So pretty much there's no Pixar association on the whole album. So Bang, and there's another assumption tweet, Bang won't be the most upbeat song on the album. Not even close, haha. Okay, again, about the overall color of the album, this is about Bang being red and orange, and I'll talk more about that later. Most intense song, Bang, Joe and OK Overture, so that's interesting. Bang was for the deluxe version, but when everything got canceled, it started to sort of sound more like the start of the next chapter, so yeah. The Trick, one time Ryan said it was his favorite. I don't remember where he said this, but he pretty much said like it's one of a kind. The first time listen is like, what is it? And then it's like, oh, I think I know what we're going for. And then it's like, whoa, this hits home. So I'm really excited for that. Another thing about a live stream, one time Jack said that his favorite was The Trick. So yeah, and then Ryan also said it's his favorite because it's one of a kind. Okay, Ordinary People. Again, another song I'm pretty excited for too. So there's a lot to talk about here. But, basically they've said, like, they think collaborations should be, like, cool and unique and stuff, and not just, like, oh, everyone's collabing with this rapper, let's collab with them as well. So, yeah, it should be unexpected and unusual, because, yeah. So, anyway, what has happened with Blue Man Group, because this is a song that has Blue Man Group feature, there's an assumption that basically the Blue Man Group song will have a music video. They retweeted it. It'd be really cool if the Blue Man Group was also in that video, in my opinion. Then also, Adam like talked about Ordinary People, sort of like sonically it's really interesting to him. And then Blue Man Group retweeted it and said, "Can't wait for everyone to hear our weird sound on the new AJR Brothers album." That's really cool. I'm pumped for that. Pumped. Also, I'll show this little video on here. Pretty much, this is just Blue Man Group and AJR just like bopping their heads to bang. Also, one time Jack said that Ordinary People was his favorite, so yeah. Okay, Humpty Dumpty, so this again is an assumption. Humpty Dumpty has nothing to do with eggs, but it does have something to do with a broken heart. They retweeted that, so this will be a love song. I'm assuming if it's a broken heart, it's a love song. Maybe I'm wrong. Humpty Dumpty will be the classic AJR song that is based off a cute children's story, but incorporates complex adult topics. 2 Humpty Dumpty ones in a row, but you guys are nailing these. Whoa. World Smiles Violin. We know very little about this one at all. Very, very little. Pretty much just that it was like it's the second fastest song. I don't know if it's really the second fastest, but it was the one that Jack was like, "World's Most Violent, that's the fastest song." But then Ryan was like, "No, it's Adventures Out There." So way less sad. Okay, so remember, I don't actually think I said this earlier, but I can't find where it is. But basically, somewhere AJR said that the album would have like a hip hop song and an Americana song, or like they're more inspired by those. I think the hip hop song was way less sad because they pitched way less sad to Cardi B. So I'm sort of convinced that that Way Less Sad was a hip hop song. It's an AJR live stream, which is a really cool clip.
Are there any Easter eggs in the newest songs or the song?
Maybe. Yeah, there actually kind of is.
You'll hear it when you hear the whole album.
Okay, so Christmas in June, the last song on the album. Let's talk about it. Assumption: Christmas in June has nothing to do with Christmas. In a way, yes. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so this one, what do you feel is the overall color of the album? We've talked about this. Bang and Christmas in June are red and orange. Okay, AJR live stream. I'm not going to dive into this, but basically Ryan one time said that Christmas in June was his favorite. And in the One Spectacular Night pre-show, the last song on the album is Come Hang Out, but grown up, more mature. That can only mean good things, because Come Hang Out is my favorite song, along with Finale, so that can only mean good things. Okay, gonna talk about something real quick. Something that's announced already for next Friday, the day OK Orchestra comes out at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, the night OK Orchestra drops, we're doing a big acoustic live stream featuring new songs, fan questions, and an orchestra. See you there. Okay, music videos. Let's talk about this real quick. Some different stuff. So I'm going to first talk about a couple different things. This is something where AJR says something's cooking, or actually Institute of Culinary Education said this, something's cooking at AJR Brothers. That's them in a kitchen doing something on drum pads and whatever, so I'm really hyped for that. I assume that's going to be a music video. Don't know what else it would be. Gonna have a lot of visuals for OKO. Will every song have a music video? They answer that here.
Will all the songs have music videos? Yeah, we're trying to do our best. We're filming one this weekend, correct?
Yeah.
We're filming. Should we say which one we're filming this weekend?
Yeah, give them
We're
a little
filming
thing.
OK Overture, and yes, there is an overture on this upcoming album.
Yeah, we decided it was right. We decided it wasn't right for Neo Theater. Neo Theater didn't deserve an overture for whatever reason, because we kind of had the songs all Easter egged into each other. This one, really, the overture feels right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they also said that they were filming Overture that weekend, and then we get this video, which I'll probably put up a video right now. So maybe that's Overture music video.
This next video is going to be wild. Don't say it's a video.
Let's talk about merch/vinyl real quick, just one thing. Vinyls aren't being easily produced right now, it's harder with COVID and everything, so they will come out closer to the summer. Closer to the summer makes me think like May. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Let's talk about tour real quick. Tons of different stuff about tour. So real quick to start off, they said like a lot of times we've been in the dark about touring when everyone else knows when it's available to start touring. Then we'll start touring, and instantly, like, artists will just be announcing tours and stuff. But then they go totally against this, and well, actually, they do say in the 104.5 Philly thing, they said they're going to announce something pretty soon. And then instantly, within the next couple days, in the Dublin SFM, they talk about an OKO tour in 2022, beginning of 2022. Just announce it like that. They're not lying. I think really they're going to actually announce something, but they're saying that they'll probably be able to tour then. Do you have any crazy ideas for next tour? If the world can get back to normal this year, yes. One Spectacular Night really opened our eyes to how much more crazy stuff we could be doing on stage. That's fun, because One Spectacular Night was crazy and amazing, so obviously that's wonderful. This is random, but we're still going to play Netflix Strip. Okay, this is totally random stuff now. Just totally random. Hi, hello, new picture. That's a picture of the pencil. Too much noise all around, get yourself some quiet time. Are you okay? Stupid, but that's all I have. That could be a lyric. Oh, that is a lyric, actually. It's stupid, but it's all I have. Yeah, it's a lyric, never mind. Also, interesting, this is the one with the ice cream thing, actually, I believe. If you zoom in on one of the paintings, it says The Trick. So, that's interesting. I'm Ready was such a weird song. This one's gonna be better. The album? Neil's Year was great. Sounds so negative. Lonely in a room full of people. I think that'll be like a lyric. That's what I'm looking for. Ups and downs, waves and crests, upload and downloads. That's weird. Stayed up till 4 a.m. writing something last night. Sometimes at night your brain just gets liberated enough to write something just crazy enough to make the album. Just go out and build a lot of bridges. Connect everyone and everything. That's when conflict and judgment go away. Forget genres of music, forget types of people. It's all music and we're all people. I know. I miss feeling away. It'll all seem like nothing by the morning. These guys so weird, honestly. The world is simple and small from down here. It'll all make sense when you're older.
A lot besides, writing for the band. We write for other artists. We're currently in the middle of working with a big producer on writing a Broadway show, actually. So we've started with that. We're huge Broadway fans. So someone approached us to start that. So we've already written some songs. And we're also in film as well. We went to film school. So we've been doing a lot of writing on that side, too. We were pitching around a pilot for that. So a lot of stuff in the works. Yeah.
Oh, so that's about Broadway and something about film, which is very weird. So we know we're working on a Broadway thing now, but also about film, so that's interesting. Oh, is it post-show from One Spectacular Night? Would you write music for movies? Jack doesn't know how much he can talk about it, but they have some music for films coming out, but not sung by them, but for other artists, so that's really interesting. I can't find where to find this for the love of me, but basically, they said that there would be like an Americana song and a pop song. I believe the pop song was Way Sad. If you don't know what Americana is, I don't really listen to it, but I listen to it a little bit. Like, I listen to it just a little bit, but don't listen to it. It's sort of like country, almost, but more American. Not really, that's a joke. One song did not make cut for the album. It's like a narrated story, almost, but there's a medley. There's a medley, or a melody. I put medley, so I don't know if I was thinking medley or melody. That's from One Spectacular Night post show. Darn it. Okay. There's a melody or a medley that Ryan really liked that they may use again. That's interesting. Okay, tons of random stuff. There was a photo by Washington Bridge and Lighthouse where we talked about that. There's a video of them going on a helicopter. That might be a music video. That's really interesting. One of them walking in the snow after like Way Sad was released and saying they're looking for more music video locations. Maybe there's a music video in the snow. And interestingly, they haven't played the Bummerland Technique live yet. Not once. Like the little instrument haven't played it live. Don't know why. Okay, these last two things I think are amazing. Let's go off a bang, basically. You'll do a Zach Sang interview discussing the new album. That's exciting. Even though the Zach Sang interview from One Spectacular Night post show kind of was not good, in my opinion. The new theater one was really good, so that's exciting. Okay, so that's it. Go down below. I don't have a comments on this video, which I maybe talked about earlier, but pretty much I don't want anyone spoiling, so if you do want to support it by going into comments, you can. You can like it and share it. You should share it, not just because it helps me, but also because people should see this for AJR fans. I think to get a little recap of the album would be really nice for anyone who wants to see that. There's also a link down below to Discord I made recently with my friends Pele and Matt, so you should follow that because we're talking. We love to talk about AJR and there, and also we're planning like this listen along thing for when OK Orchestra comes out, where we all listen to it together and stuff live. Which that's in the works. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and see you all later.